October 19th, 2015, 11:47 p.m. The kind of night that smells like electricity and regret. The rain hit the glass so hard it sounded like the sky was trying to break in. My phone buzzed once, soft, almost polite. I thought it was nothing. Another meaningless notification in a life full of them. But when I looked, the name burned through the darkness like a match in a tunnel. Michael Lorne, my husband, the man who vanished 10 years ago, the one they said was gone for good, the one I buried in memory, not in ground. My thumb hovered over the screen, trembling. My reflection in the black glass looked pale, hollow, like a ghost trying to remember what it felt like to breathe. For 10 years, silence was my companion. 10 winters without his voice. 10 summers pretending I'd moved on. The world told me to heal as if healing was anything but selective forgetting. But grief never dies. It mutates. It hides behind laughter, behind work, behind the illusion of peace, until someone drags it back into the light. And tonight, that someone sent me a friend request, from the grave, from the impossible, from a profile that should not exist. I opened it, and time cracked open like glass under pressure. The photo stopped my heart. A smile I knew too well, the scar on his jawline, faint but real, the same crooked way he tilted his head when he thought I wasn't looking. But this wasn't an old picture. The timestamp said October 19th, 2025. Taken today, 10 years later. His eyes looked straight into the lens, sharp, alive, aware. It felt less like a photo and more like a message. You thought I was gone, didn't you? The air grew colder. My breath turned visible. The house felt too small, like the walls were closing in to listen. Every object around me, the lamp, the couch, the framed photos, looked foreign, out of place, like they belonged to someone else's life. I could still hear the last words he ever said before he disappeared. Don't wait up. Simple, forgettable. But now, they echoed with a new weight. Maybe he hadn't meant for the night. Maybe he'd meant forever. I stared at that profile picture until my eyes burned. I wanted to scream, to throw the phone, to not believe. But disbelief is a luxury you lose when reality knocks where in the face of the dead. The notification light blinked again, slow, pulsing, like a heartbeat. And with every flash, I felt the space between then and now collapsing. 10 years of silence unraveling into a single question: where have you been? The rain outside grew louder, pounding against the windows in frantic rhythm. The lights flickered. For a second, everything went dark. In that darkness, I could almost hear him breathing. The rhythm was wrong, too close, too real. My skin prickled. Then the lights returned, soft and trembling, as if the power itself was afraid. I looked back at the screen, and the friend request was still there, waiting, mocking. Confirm or delete. It wasn't a question, it was a dare. And I realized something that twisted my stomach into knots. You can delete an account, but you can't delete a ghost. The rain slowed, the clock struck midnight, and as the second hand ticked, I whispered his name just once, like an invocation I knew I shouldn't say. The phone buzzed immediately after. A new message, from him. 4 words, simple, final: you never buried me. And that's when I understood. Some nights don't end, they just wait. Asterisk 10 years, 10 years of empty mornings and hollow nights, 10 years of waking up to the same silence, pretending it didn't sound like his voice fading down the hallway. The world moved on, but I stayed trapped in a calendar that refused to turn its page. His toothbrush still stood by mine, his coat still hung by the door. The smell of him faded long ago, but I could never bring myself to wash it away. Every object in that house became a relic, a monument to something I could never bury. I thought keeping it all meant I was loyal. Now I know it was rot disguised as devotion. I remember the police reports, their words flat and formulaic: no new leads. Case remains open. But open didn't mean hope, it meant suspended agony. It meant every night I'd sit by the phone, waiting for a ring that never came. The house was too big for one heartbeat. Every sound echoed, every silence screamed. I kept hearing footsteps at night, soft, deliberate, but they always vanished when I turned. Maybe I wanted it to be him. Maybe I wanted the haunting more than I wanted peace. At least, ghosts don't leave twice. The years blurred into each other, stitched together by caffeine and grief. I learned to smile when people said his name. I learned to lie through my teeth when they said, "You're so strong." Strength was just exhaustion in disguise. People stopped asking after the 3rd year. Pity has an expiration date. Eventually, it was just me, the dust, and the ghost of what love used to mean. The house became a museum of our life photos, frozen mid-laughter furniture we bought but never used, drawers filled with letters I never sent, a prison built out of memory. Then last month, everything changed. I was scrolling through an online marketplace, looking for nothing, expecting less when I saw it. His watch, the one he wore the night he disappeared, same crack on the glass, same initials I engraved on the back. My blood ran cold. I refreshed the page, thinking it was a coincidence, but more things began to appear. His jacket, his notebook, his wedding ring, things no one else should have had, no one else should have seen. Each item felt like a message, each listing like a breadcrumb, leading somewhere I didn't want to go. I tried reporting it. The police shrugged. Old case, they said, probably resold, but I knew better. Some items were never found after the search. Some were taken from our home years after. Someone had been here. Someone had touched what was his, what was mine, and every listing went live at the same time, 10:19 p.m. The same time he went missing. Every single one. I stared at the screen for hours that night, heart pounding like thunder, because deep down, I knew the truth I'd been avoiding for years. The past hadn't stayed buried. It was selling itself back to me, piece by piece. It was late. Aquanoways is when you live alone with memories. I was scrolling mindlessly through the noise of everyone else's lives, the endless parade of smiling strangers pretending to be whole. Then it happened. A notification, a name I'd stopped expecting to see. Michael Lorne. My heart stuttered, then slammed against my ribs like it was trying to escape. I stared at it for a full minute, refusing to blink, because blinking would make it real. And it was real. The same name, the same profile, except this time, it wasn't just his name, it was his face. His photo, taken today. The picture was wrong in ways I couldn't explain. Too sharp, too clear. The lighting was that of the cabin, the one where he vanished 10 years ago. The warped wood behind him, the window with the crack I'd made that night after we argued. I knew that place, every nail, every shadow, every inch of it, and he was standing there like no time had passed. Same smile, same eyes, but there was something else. His skin looked too smooth, too clean, like the years had skipped over him. And those eyes, they weren't looking at the camera, they were looking through it. I clicked the profile, half in dread, half in hunger. My throat was dry, every muscle in my body screamed to stop, but curiosity is its own kind of possession. The account was almost empty. No friends, no posts, no history, just that single photo and a timestamp from today. I scrolled down, hoping to find something that made sense. Anything, but there was nothing. Then I noticed the coordinates tagged under the image. My pulse froze. It was the cabin, the exact coordinates. I hadn't been there since the night he disappeared. I'd sworn never to go back. I felt my mind split in two, logic and longing, tearing at each other. Logic said, it's a fake, a scam, a cruel trick, but longing whispered, what if it's really him? What if he's been out there all this time, waiting, watching, alive? My thumb hovered over the screen again, that fragile space between sanity and obsession. I could feel the weight of 10 years pressing down on it, and in that second, fear lost its grip, because truth, no matter how terrifying, has a gravity of its own. I hit accept. The screen flickered. My reflection stared back, distorted in the black glass. I waited. Nothing happened, just silence. But it wasn't an empty silence, it was loaded, like something was holding its breath on the other side of the signal. Then, the typing bubble appeared, 3 dots. Then gone, then again, then gone. Each pulse felt like a heartbeat. I whispered his name into the dark, voice shaking. Michael. No answer. Just those 3 dots, appearing, disappearing, like something trying to find the right words to crawl through the screen. And then one final message appeared. You found me. At first, it was one message, simple, harmless. Can you still hear the rain from our bedroom? My hands went numb. My breath hitched. No one knew about that. That sentence, it was ours. He used to say it when storms hit late at night, when he'd pull me close. Whisper that the rain sounded like the world breathing in its sleep. My mind screamed that it wasn't real, that someone was playing me. But my heart recognized him instantly. The rhythm, the words, the small pauses between them. It was him. It had to be. Then more messages came, each one slicing through the calm like a blade. I kept the letter you never sent. Don't go into the basement. You shouldn't have tried to move on. My screen filled with fragments of memories no one else could possibly know. Inside jokes. The night we argued over the broken radio. the scar he got fixing the porch light, even the word he made up when we danced in the kitchen drunk mood. Every line was a ghost, dragging its nails across my sanity. I wanted to scream, to block the account, to end it, but I couldn't. Every message felt like a heartbeat returning. The sound of my notifications became unbearable, each ping like static in my chest. Then the voice notes started, distorted, glitching, his voice flickering between words, like it was fighting static from another world. "It's me," he said in one, the same tone, the same inflection, but twisted, mechanical, strained through interference. "You didn't listen," another whispered, soft and broken. I replayed them over and over, looking for seams, for proof it was fake. But the way he said my name, no algorithm could recreate that. No one else ever said it like that, like it was both a prayer and a warning. Then came the proof that shattered everything. He mentioned things that happened after he vanished, details no one could know. The neighbor who moved in 5 years ago, the car I sold last spring, the dress I wore last week. He described them all perfectly. My skin went cold, my stomach twisted. How could he see me? How could he know? I turned off the phone, but the messages kept coming. The screen lit up again and again, the same words appearing over and over like a mantra. I never left. I tried calling the number. Static, just static, until a faint voice bled through the noise. "You should have buried me deeper." The line cut. I sat there frozen, the room shrinking around me. My reflection in the dark glass of the phone looked pale, hollow, wrong, like something was standing just behind me, watching, waiting. The screen flickered once more before turning black, and for a second, I swore I saw his reflection in it, smiling through the static. Sleep stopped coming. Food tasted like dust. My world shrank to the glow of a screen and the pounding of questions that refused to die. If he was alive, I needed to know. If he wasn't, then who the hell was talking to me? I tore through the past like it was evidence, old hard drives, police reports, deleted emails, blurry photographs. I spent nights crawling through digital ruins, searching for any trace of him, any ghost in the code. The clock on my wall became meaningless. Days bled into nights. I was no longer living. I was tracking. The police archives were my poison. I hacked into them like a woman possessed. Every report, every call, every photograph from the night he disappeared, his car abandoned by the old highway, his phone found in the woods, screen shattered, last call made to me. I listened to the recording again, my own voice on the line, breathing, waiting. But then, at the end of the static, another sound emerged, soft, almost hidden. His voice, whispering something I'd never noticed before. "Don't trust the lights." I replayed it over and over until I could hear nothing else. The message had been there for years, waiting for me to find it. CCTV footage came next. I tracked down every camera within miles of where he vanished. Thousands of hours of nothing, just wind, rain, and emptiness, until one frame stopped me cold. A shadow by the edge of the road, the same height, the same build, but the date stamp wasn't from 10 years ago. It was from 2 nights ago. My pulse began to sprint. My hands shook as I paused, zoomed, enhanced. The shape turned toward the camera, and though the image was grainy, the outline of that face, the jaw, the tilt of the head was him, Michael, staring straight into the lens, staring straight at me. That night, I couldn't breathe. Every sound in the house felt amplified. The ticking of the clock, the creak of the floor, the hum of the refrigerator. Then I heard it, a faint thud at the door. I froze. It came again, slow, deliberate. I waited, heart hammering, before walking to the front step. Nothing, just the cold wind and the hum of streetlights. I looked down and saw it, a small brown envelope sitting perfectly in the center of my doormat. No name, no address, just a single object inside a black USB drive. My skin went numb. The label on it was blank, but the timestamp printed on the tiny sticker read October 18th, 2025, 10:19 p.m. Yesterday. My vision blurred. I looked around the streets. No footprints, no car lights, just silence. Whoever left it knew exactly when I'd opened the door. My fingers trembled as I picked it up. The metal was still warm, as if it had just been held. I wanted to throw it away, burn it, erase it from existence. But instead, I brought it inside, closed the door, and locked every bolt, because some part of me, some sick, starved part, wasn't afraid anymore. It wanted answers, even if they killed me. I stared at that USB like it was pulsing. alive, breathing in my palm. My reflection in the metal looked fractured, too many versions of me staring back. I plugged it in. The screen went black for a long moment, then static. A burst of distortion, like the video itself didn't want to be seen, and then he appeared. Michael, same face, same scar by his jaw, but time hadn't touched him. Not a single wrinkle, not a day older. The lighting flickered behind him, a lantern's glow, soft and yellow, the kind we used to take to the cabin when the power cut out. My chest tightened. The background, it was the cabin, the same cracked window, the same wooden frame. He was standing where he disappeared. He looked straight into the camera, expression unreadable, eyes hollow, but alive. And when he spoke, my stomach turned. That voice, it was him, exactly him. The rhythm, the pauses, the quiet tremor beneath the words. "If you're watching this," he said, "then you still haven't learned how to let go." My pulse began to race. Every cell in my body screamed that this couldn't be real. But he kept speaking, soft, slow, deliberate. "You tried to build a new life, didn't you? Tried to fill the silence. But silence doesn't leave, it listens." The way he said it wasn't angry. It was intimate, like he was whispering through time itself. He smiled, then slowly, painfully, like it hurt. "You think you buried me," he said, "but the past remembers the dirt." He lifted something into the frame, a photograph. Our wedding photo, torn at the edges, covered in dirt. My breath caught in my throat. He ran his thumb over my face in the picture, almost tenderly. Then his eyes darkened. "You shouldn't have tried to forget me." The words hit like a blade. My vision blurred. I shouted at the screen, my voice shaking, "Where are you?" But he didn't answer. The video stuttered, glitched, froze for a second, and then, just before it cut to black, he leaned closer to the camera. Too close. So close his whisper felt like it crawled inside my ear. "I never left." The screen went dark. Total silence. I sat there, staring at my reflection in the dead monitor, chest heaving. I could still hear his voice echoing somewhere behind me, inside me. The house felt colder now, the air heavier. I replayed the file, desperate for proof of editing, of manipulation, but the timestamp said it all. October 19th, 2025, 10:19 p.m. Yesterday, 10 years to the minute, since the night he vanished. The video wasn't old. It was new, fresh, alive. And that realization sank into me like poison, because if it was real, then Michael wasn't gone. He was watching. The night felt endless, the kind that feeds on silence and swallows reason. I drove without direction, headlights slicing through the rain like blades. Every drop on the windshield was a heartbeat, a countdown. I told myself I was looking for answers, but deep down, I knew the truth. I was chasing a ghost. I retraced the map of our old life like a ritual. The diner we used to haunt at 2 a.m., the road by the lake where we carved our initials into the guardrail, his old workplace, still standing like a mausoleum of routine. Every place whispered something back to me. Faint echoes of laughter turned hollow. The world hadn't changed much, only I had. The people behind those windows didn't know that a dead man was texting me, didn't know his voice was still echoing through my phone like a sermon from the grave. I watched the reflection of my face in the rain-streaked glass and wondered when I stopped looking alive. I started to remember things differently, moments that once felt safe, now twisted with unease. The way he used to stare into space for too long, the way he'd flinch when the phone rang, the times he disappeared for hours without a word. Love makes you blind, but obsession sharpens every corner. Maybe I never really knew him. Maybe I only knew the version he wanted me to believe. By the time I reached the cabin, the rain had turned violent. The trees loomed like sentinels, bending, whispering, warning. My headlights caught the old sign, half rotted, still hanging by one nail. I killed the engine. The silence that followed wasn't silence at all, it was alive. The forest hummed with something unseen, something waiting. I stepped out, my shoes sinking into the mud, and every step forward felt like a betrayal of logic. The door was half open. I don't remember leaving it that way 10 years ago. My heart pounded so loud I thought it would wake the dead. Inside, everything was the same cracked mug on the counter, the same ashtray. Even the faint smell of his cologne clung to the air, like it refused to let go. But dust covered everything else, except the floor near the table. Fresh footprints, heavy mail. My breath hitched. The lantern he held in the video was there too, still glowing faintly, flickering, as if it knew I was watching. And in that moment, something inside me broke. I wasn't afraid anymore. Fear was useless now. What I felt was hunger. Raw, consuming hunger for truth, because love, when pushed to its limits, becomes something else. It mutates. It claws. It devours everything in its way, until all that's left is obsession dressed as devotion. I thought I wanted closure, but standing in that cabin, breathing in 10 years of secrets, I realized I didn't want peace. I wanted answers, even if they burned me alive. It arrived at 3:16 a.m. No message, no subject line, just a file named for you 2.mp4. I stared at it for a long time, feeling the pulse in my wrist sync with the cursor blinking on the screen. My throat went dry. Curiosity has a sound, a quiet, desperate hum in your skull that whispers, "Open it." So I did, and the world went still. The screen flickered, static, bleeding into the frame. Then, there I was, sleeping, in my own bed. Last night, same blankets, same lamp, same clock ticking behind me. 2:47 a.m. I froze. The camera angle was low, close to the floor, like someone crouching, breathing, watching. I paused the video, rewound, pressed play again, slower. This time, I watched myself turn in my sleep, unaware that I was being studied. My chest rose and fell in rhythm with someone else's breathing, faint but there, behind the camera. Then, a whisper, barely audible, a man's voice, his voice, still beautiful when you dream. I felt my skin crawl, cold crawling up my spine like ice water, the kind of terror that doesn't scream, it sinks its teeth in and waits. I reached for my phone with shaking hands, dialed 911, then stopped, because suddenly, I realized, the clock behind me, the one in the video, showed the same time as the one on my wall. I turned, 2:47 a.m. The video wasn't from last night, it was happening now. I jumped up, heart thrashing against my ribs. Every sound in the room became suspicious. The creak of the floorboards, the faint hum of the fridge, the wind brushing against the curtains. I looked around, scanning every shadow, every corner, nothing. But that's the thing about being watched. You feel it before you see it. My reflection in the dark window stared back at me, but for a split second, I swear, there was another face, just behind mine, watching, smiling. I unplugged the laptop and threw it across the room. The video kept playing. The whisper returned, closer this time. "You shouldn't have come back." And then black screen. Silence. But somewhere in that silence, I heard the soft click of a camera shutter. I couldn't take it anymore. I smashed the phone against the floor, until the glass gave up first. Sparks jumped, pieces scattered, little stars dying on the tiles. I ripped the cord from the router, yanked every wire from the wall like veins torn out in rage. No more messages. No more ghosts through glass. Just silence. Just me. But silence is never empty. It listens. It waits. The air felt charged, like the storm before lightning strikes. And then I saw it, on the mirror, words forming slowly through the condensation, as if written by breath itself. "You can't disconnect from me." I stumbled back, heart clawing at my chest. The words glistened, fading and returning, pulse-like, alive. I wiped the mirror clean, but new ones appeared beneath my touch. I never left. The room began to twist. My reflection wasn't mine anymore. It smiled when I didn't. It leaned closer when I froze. I slammed my fist against the glass, cracks crawling like veins across my own face. The sound was sharp enough to wake the walls, and behind the cracks, for a moment, I saw him, smiling, on the other side. I screamed, not out of fear, out of fury, out of 10 years of being haunted by a man who refused to die, out of love that turned to rot, out of the unbearable truth that some ghosts don't need death to exist. The mirror shattered under my hands. Shards fell like rain, reflecting tiny versions of me. Each one fractured, each one whispering a different truth. One said, "He's back." Another said, "You never moved on." And one said, "You knew he'd return." I collapsed, surrounded by pieces of my own reflection, blood mingling with silver edges. I stared into the largest shard and whispered, "What do you want from me?" And from somewhere deep in that broken silence, his voice answered, calm, patient, and too close. "The same thing you do." The truth, the road, was a scar carved through the forest, long, wet, endless. Thunder stitched the sky open every few seconds, lightning exposing the bones of trees that looked too much like watchers. My headlights fought against the rain, but the dark kept swallowing them whole. I hadn't been here in 10 years. The last time, they pulled his car from the ravine nearby. No body, just wreckage and silence. And yet here I was again, chasing a ghost through the storm that once took him. Every mile felt heavier, as if the earth itself didn't want me to return. But I did, because some stories don't end, they just circle back. Hungrier. The cabin emerged from the black like a secret that never learned how to die. Half the roof had caved in, moss devouring the walls, nature reclaiming what memory abandoned. I killed the engine, grabbed my flashlight, and stepped into the rain. Each drop hit like accusation. The mud clung to my boots, pulling me back with every step, whispering, "Don't." But I pushed forward. The door groaned when I opened it, the kind of sound wood makes when it remembers pain. My light cut through the dark, catching fragments of our past. The old couch, the coffee mug still stained with his last morning, and the photo frame lying face down on the floor. The air smelled like rot and time. I swept the beam across the floorboards, and that's when I saw it, a small glint near the corner. Metal, familiar. I knelt down, heart hammering. It was his watch, same scratch on the glass, same engraving on the back, until the end of time. My breath stopped. That watch was buried with his things. I remember the coffin. I remember the dirt. I remember the way I couldn't look as they lowered it. So how was it here? Still ticking. Still alive? I lifted it to my ear. The sound was soft at first, a heartbeat pretending to be a clock. Then, louder, louder, until it filled the room, echoing off the walls, syncing perfectly with mine. Tick, 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 like a countdown. And then, the flashlight flickered. For a split second, I saw a shadow standing at the doorway, same height, same outline, watching me through the rain. When the light steadied, it was gone. Only the storm remained, and the watch, still ticking in my palm. That's when I knew. The storm didn't bring me here. It brought him. The night had stopped pretending to be night. It was something else, now breathing, waiting, almost alive. The power had gone out an hour ago, but I didn't notice. I was too busy listening, to the floorboards creaking where no one walked, to the steady rhythm of my own pulse whispering, "He's here." The air tasted electric, heavy, metallic, like the moment before lightning splits the sky. Then I saw it, a shadow breaking from the corner, still watching, and when my eyes adjusted, he stepped forward. Michael, 10 years gone, not a wrinkle older, not a heartbeat missing, exactly as I remembered him, except for the eyes. They weren't his. Too still, too sharp, like something had looked out of them for too long and forgotten how to blink. His smile wasn't warmth anymore. It was memory trying to mimic it. My throat closed, my knees locked. Every part of me wanted to run, but my heart, my traitorous heart, whispered, "You've waited for this." I took a step closer, half in grief, half in madness. The smell of rain still clung to him, the same scent I once loved. Now it reeked of something else, old, hollow, recycled, like the grave had borrowed his body but kept the receipt. My voice cracked through the silence. "What are you?" He tilted his head, same habit, same motion, but slower, more deliberate. "Exactly what you made me." His words dripped like oil, thick and heavy. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. The shadows around him bent inward, pulled by something I couldn't see. And that's when I understood. He wasn't here to reunite. He wasn't here for love. He was here to finish what forgetting started. He took another step. The floor groaned beneath him like the house itself wanted to escape. The distance between us was measured not in feet, but in memories. 10 years of silence. 10 years of pretending the past stayed buried. Now, it stood in front of me, smiling, human no more, familiar no less. And as his hand reached out, pale and trembling, I realized something colder than fear itself. He hadn't come back from the dark. The dark had learned to wear his face. The storm broke by morning, but the forest never dried. Police tape fluttered like yellow ghosts between the trees, and the cabin stood hollow, a carcass of secrets, stripped clean. They said the door was open when they arrived. No footprints except hers, no signs of struggle, just the echo of something unfinished. Her car still idled out front, headlights dimmed, radio hissing static, the same frequency her husband's old voice notes once lived on. Inside, the officers found nothing but a broken flashlight, and a single watch still ticking on the table. By noon, the report went public. Missing person, female, last seen entering the old Lorne property during the storm. But that wasn't the real ending. The real ending came hours later. On her social media, a new post appeared, time-stamped today. A photo. Her standing in the doorway of the cabin, rain on her shoulders, eyes wide, unblinking. Behind her, blurred but visible, was him. Michael, smiling, same clothes, same scar. The caption read only, "He found me." Her friends flooded the comments, questions, panic, then the account went dark. No trace, no recovery. But those who had notifications on, they swore something stranger. They said her status light blinked green again that evening. Active, online, typing, and then it stopped.